What if a library offered you more than just an escape? What if, behind some plain old door on a forgotten shelf, you could find an actual doorway into the stories themselves? Well, today, we're diving into a story that explores exactly that.
And honestly, what a way to start, right? Because the author grounds this whole magical idea in a feeling that, let's be real, we all know, just being utterly and completely overwhelmed. This isn't a story that kicks off with dragons or ancient prophecies. It starts with that deep, quiet fatigue of just trying to get by.
And that feeling, it's pretty much personified in our protagonist, Alix Watson. She's a young woman in Boston who is smart, she's responsible, and she's absolutely buried under all the pressures of modern life. So her world is just this constant barrage of stress. You know the kind of phone notification that just makes your stomach drop? That's her, all the time. It's that nagging reminder that you're always falling behind. And then there's this. The dread of a phone call you know you can't afford to answer, but you also really can't afford to ignore. For Alix, this isn't just background noise. It's literally the soundtrack of her life. And this is where the pressure explodes into a full-blown crisis. Her reality isn't just stressful anymore, it's completely precarious. The threat of being homeless is real, it's immediate, and it sets the stakes unbelievably high for everything that's about to happen. But in the middle of all this chaos, Alix has one place where she can actually breathe: the Boston Public Library. It's more than just a part-time job for her, it's a sanctuary. And one day, that sanctuary offers her something more. Deep in the stacks, in a place where people rarely go, she finds this. A door that has absolutely no reason to exist. And in a moment that's more instinct than anything else, facing eviction, crushing debt, she makes a choice. She opens it and steps inside. She finds herself here, in the Astral Library, an impossibly huge space built out of every story that belongs to all of us, the public domain. But its guardian, the librarian, makes one thing crystal clear. This place isn't for escape, it's for perspective. Okay, but this magical library isn't just some fantasy vacation. Nope. It operates on a very specific set of rules, and Alix's journey is really all about learning how to navigate them. So these are the three core principles the librarian lays out. 1. You can visit any story that's no longer under copyright. 2. You can watch, you can observe, but you can't change the narrative. And 3, and this one's the most important, you're a visitor, not the main character. You're already the hero of your own story. So for her first trip, Alix chooses a Regency novel. She's thinking she'll find safety, security, but instead, she finds this cage of rigid social rules. The life she thought she wanted, one free of money stress, turns out to be just another kind of trap. Oof. Okay, so for trip number 2, she tries something totally different. She goes into a Sherlock Holmes story. Now, she can't solve the crime, she can't save the day, but by watching, by noticing the little details, she realizes she actually matters. She finds a sense of agency not by changing the story, but by truly seeing it. Observation, she learns, is its own kind of power. But, Alix isn't the only one using the library. An antagonist emerges, the Shadow Patron. He sees the library's openness not as a strength, but as a huge weakness. He basically represents this very modern fear, this belief that information is dangerous unless it's filtered and controlled by the right people. And this is what makes the central conflict so brilliant. The story's climax isn't some wizard's duel with spells flying everywhere. It's a battle of ideas. It's a fight for the very soul of the library. Who gets to decide which stories are told, and who gets to hear them? Yeah, and you can see that conflict laid out perfectly right here. On one side, you've got the librarian's whole philosophy of open, democratic access. Trust people with stories. And on the other, you have the Shadow Patron's desire for order and control, which, when you boil it down, is really a philosophy of fear. Okay, and this is where the story gets so clever. Because the magical conflict, as you can see right here, it directly mirrors Alix's real-world fight. The Shadow Patrons talk about curating access is just a fancier version of a city official trying to optimize operations at the actual Boston Public Library. Unstable entries in the magical world becomes inefficient usage in the real one. It's the language of bureaucracy being used to tear down a public good. So the Shadow Patron makes Alix the ultimate offer. He tempts her with the one thing she wants more than anything: relief. A perfectly curated life, totally free from all her real-world pain. All she has to do
is give him control of the library. And everything, comes down to this. One single decision: safety for herself or access for everyone else. And Alix makes her choice. She chooses the messy, the unpredictable, the beautiful, democratic chaos of an open library. She refuses to trade freedom for her own personal security because she realizes that a sanctuary that isn't for everyone isn't a sanctuary at all. And with that one choice, her entire journey comes full circle. She goes back to her world not as someone who failed to escape, but as someone who's been completely transformed by the journey. So back in Boston, facing that very real threat to her local library, she finds her purpose. She's not running anymore. She's ready to engage, to stand up for the real-world sanctuary that led her to the magical one in the first place. And that right there is the real magic of her journey. The Astral Library didn't offer Alix a way out. It gave her the perspective and the strength she needed to find her way through. It taught her how to face her reality, not how to just disappear from it. And that brings us to this beautiful, powerful idea at the heart of the entire story. Stories aren't just for escaping. They're tools that help us return to our own lives, but stronger, with a new understanding of who we are and what we're fighting for. Which really just leaves us with one last thought to chew on. If you had that choice, if you could step into any world you wanted, what would you be looking for? Relief from your life? Or the strength to actually live it?